Good evening, everybody. I've got the tough job. I'm going to keep you going till you get your whiskey and your cocktails. And of course, I love food, so I'm not going to hurry it. I think we've got a really interesting topic today. I've been so looking forward that the way the world lives and the way we lived, and the way we want to live, it's such a shift, what's happened in the last 10, 20 years. And of course, the brands which have been there and everyone's aspired to buy are finally knocking on our doors. And we expect that the next 10 days is going to deliver something good for the country. We live in interesting times. And we hope to have quality retail for quality retail spaces. And that's the discussion today. I have on the panel with me 2 retailers. And 3 of us are from the management or the developer side. We've all 3 of us who are from the management side have had the opportunity of working with Indian brands, and now have also got the opportunity of working with the international brands who've come in and asked for the space. So I just want each and every person to take off and understand the issues and how everything has worked around in reference to the foreign retailers coming in. Dinaz, I'll open it up for you. You've been with Promenade, and now you're looking after Emporio. DLF had malls before. In Gurgaon, I think, was the first one that you all opened. How has it been with the design, with the changes, etc.? Because getting the foreign brands in, why is it really important to the malls, or how we evolve retail?
Yes, you're right. DLF definitely has been in the mall business since earlier, and we have had the sold mall model earlier. But as it's gone on, we've evolved, and the topic is very apt because it is synergy. International brands and the malls have to be, literally backing each other up and standing for each other. So if you see the international brands that come into the country, they have a positioning. Now, how best do they get represented in India is very critical for them, because this may be their first point of entry into the country. Therefore, the entire mall facilities, aesthetics, housekeeping, everything is taken for granted. But equally important are the adjacencies that they're going to have, their ease of facilitation in the country, because there may be certain aspects to which we as developers have to ease them in, whether it's the formalities, whether it's dealing with the customers, because our customer requirements are very unique. We are not shoppers who know what we want and go there. We are, by and large, browsers who then evolve into shoppers. So for them to understand that is important. And from the mall's perspective also, it is very beneficial, because these brands know the importance of PR, they know the importance of advertising, they know the importance of investing in their brand, which to a certain extent is lacking in some of the Indian brands, and that brings in that professionalism, it brings in that equation wherein there is a lot of learning and a lot of synergy that flows through.
Dinaz told me that she was a nervous public speaker. You won't believe that. I couldn't agree with you more, because the first mall that probably DLF made and the new one that they're going to open shows you the transition of how, as a developer, you'll have to fit in the requirement of upgrading, whether it's skill sets of the people who look after it, or the very basic fact of how you finish the mall and have it ready for that international brand. Personally, I think, Rajesh, you have also seen that happen. I think the most inorganic growth of a mall has got to be the Phoenix City and Palladium. From having, I think it was Big Bazaar, to having Palladium and being spoken of so well by all the retailers, I think must be music to your ears.
To listen this from you is also music to my ears. I'll take a simple analogy, which is dated before Christ. Adam and Eve, Laila Majnu. Retailers and mall developers share that kind of a relationship.
I thought you were going to say that it was between a daughter-in-law and a mother-in-law, but okay, I get it. So you want to go with the unmarried route.
I'm saying this from a different perspective.
Right.
Today, because, we're talking about international retailers and Indian developers. It's like having an American wife to or an Indian husband.
Now, that could be troublesome.
No, but trust me, I think the relationship is very, very important. And either of them cannot survive on their own. Standalone, they will not be able to survive. So this relationship and partnership between the international retailers and good developers in the country is of prime importance. If retail market has to grow, then this is the only way it will grow.
I think you've aptly said it, because quality retail space is, we've always heard from the retailers, the foreign retailers, that there's a shortage of quality retail space. I think Patabi, when you started off with Cookie Man, it was an Australian brand. It still is an Australian brand, it just happens to have an Indian owner now. Patabi is the owner of it. But when you entered this market, you also were a foreign brand. Did you find that you were also short on this quality space that they had asked for?
So, the truth is that Cookie Man launched in India in January 2000 in what was then the only mall in the country, Spencer Plaza.
Okay. That's our company's ex-company. I mean,
Yeah,
we don't own that mall anymore, yes.
But it was then the only building that called itself a mall. So sure, there weren't any other malls then. But, if there's one thing that India is not short of, it's entrepreneurship. And I think within the next 6 years, there were 400 buildings that call themselves malls. So the crucial thing became the identification of who are the anchors that work, which are the anchors that get the kind of audience that we're looking at. Because even now, development has come to a certain level of maturity. But I wouldn't treat us too harshly. It is but 14 years since India started its organized mall development journey. And it took the Western world 40 years to go from where we were 14 years ago to where we are now. So I think I'm actually very happy to note that there are at least 25, 30 malls in the country today. Malls of international standards, malls that are well maintained, that understand the necessity for adjacencies to work, that understand the need to keep the tenant making money. So there are that 25, 30 malls, which is and there's at least a couple of hundred that will come up over the next decade or so. So yes, it has been a very tough journey. The first 5, 6 years were horrendous. Well, it's still horrendous if you're trying to reach out to the remotest parts of India. So we have stores open now in Gangtok. And it's still a nightmare figuring out logistics from Chennai to Gangtok.
Calcutta in between.
Correct. But Calcutta to Gangtok is also.
Yeah.
So, we're opening in Jammu in another few weeks. So there's still the remotest parts of India. It's still a tough challenge. But the top 50 cities, I think, now everything's worked out.
So you're not actually in a mall space in Gangtok?
No. So what happened is, what the malls did for us, the truth is that we're an impulse purchase product. Malls facilitated the entry of my brand because they brought people into the building. And the people weren't coming to buy cookies. As I tell everybody, we're not a destination, but we have this parasitic ability to squeeze some money out of the audience's pocket when they walk by our store. And therefore, we need people to footfall to walk by the store. So what the malls did is establish my brand. So we started with only the malls that were available. We're now in airports. By the end of the first half of this financial year, we'll be in all the top 10 airports. We're in 20-odd IT parks, and we're now a high street brand. In Gangtok, we're on the high street.
So this is the first time that I've heard that a mall has actually facilitated a retailer to go on a high street. So, all mall developers are not bad, huh, Batavi? So that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Of course, Amol, you are the latest entrant. Starbucks is amazing brand. And you are making your entry into all the cities. What is it that you find the one thing that the developer has today what he didn't have 5 years ago?
I would say that since Starbucks entered in 2012, the benefit that we had as a brand was, I think, a lot of good retail had happened in terms of very nice shopping centers. So there was a lot of track record. Other brands who were operational and successful, not so successful, we could basically use that metric to basically decide which centers to go to. Coming to the kind of centers which we choose, I think whether we are an international brand or a national brand, the basics remain same. And just to reiterate, it's again great parking, security, hygiene, excellent mall management, location, all of that. One challenge we faced a bit was getting the right location with the correct services and size. Because being particularly in the F&B space, getting a space which is sanctioned as F&B, which is required as a municipal requirement in most markets, having the service intensity of the water, power, etc., and having the layout which can facilitate our design. And it's all an indigenous design in each case, was a bit of challenge. After that, I think one deficit that there is in India, especially for the F&B industry, is lack of lot of mixed-use developments. Because what happens is in F&B, since you work on an occupancy-based thing and food wastage means a lot, so we like malls which have consistent business through all day parts, through weekdays and weekends. And so malls like maybe a Select, DLF Hub, or Palladium and a High Street Phoenix, malls which have a mixture of 5-star hotels, office blocks nearby, or are attached to some transit like a metro, and also have a residential catchment, give us more steady business. Because there are multiple drivers, and definitely on behalf of the F&B industry, we can say that those would be our most successful centers, not only in terms of sale, but also because of reduced scrap, better efficiency, service levels, and people getting seats. The overall experience is very nice. And hence, those are our most successful centers. Now, if I look at across India, the big 8 cities, there are very limited mixed-use centers. And I can name at least 8 or 10, maybe a Brigade Orion, maybe a DLF Hub, the Vasant Kunj Belt, Saket. Apart from that, there is a real paucity. Most brands are present only in suburban areas with no access, no tourism there, no offices around. And then these malls just have lopsided business, which probably works well for apparel brands. But for F&B, we need that much extra.
But that means that as a destination mall, it is not something that Starbucks would be interested in the short term.
No, it's about a business case. So if we know it's a destination mall, maybe away from the city with no other activity around it, we accordingly would think about the business in those lines.
How many stores does Starbucks have now?
So currently we have 44 stores in 4 cities.
In 4 cities. So in your mind, in the diligence that you have done with all the available quality retail space, you don't think that the other cities have been able to give you the same platform for confidence of business as the four that you are in?
That's not exactly true. In fact, I see hope in terms of some newer kind of developments being done. And actually, I keep saying that DLF Hub is one of the most finest developments because it's specifically designed for F&B. Just the way it is made in terms of the parking, the way the circulation is around the commercial block, it attracts the residential at night. So, made well with some vision which is different from a conventional shopping center. Also in Delhi specifically, I note that there are a couple of metro station malls. Like we are present at a metro station mall in Nehru Place called Epicura. And that again has kind of made something very different.
Basically, you have a very
Our kind
focused
of-
and dedicated customer flow. That's what you are seeing,
Correct.
which is, obviously a cafe business has a great attraction with office goers. So that seems to be
Definitely
something.
positively impacts the F&B
Right.
specifically. And so with these kind of developments coming up, I see people are thinking differently. We're not talking only of the conventional shopping centers.
I'd like to address on the second part of what the foreign retailers, it's, I'm very sorry, but we only have two people here from the retail side, and both happen to be from the F&B. It would have been nice to have somebody, who's doing the apparel business from one of the foreign retailers present. But I think, Dinaz, what has it done for the shopper? I think it's, we've been saying that malls in India look the same. I think that has been one of the arguments that we've been saying over and over again, that, the malls look the same. Now, with the entry of all these foreign brands, obviously the malls are looking different because, it's very limited and you see that happen come into these malls. What has it actually done for the shopper? What is the difference that you are finding that has the shopper evolved? Is he presenting himself better, acting better, spending more? I mean, what's he doing?
Well,
Sorry, not being sexist.
absolutely, because there are quite a few more she's than
I
out
think
there
it's,
shopping.
he, she.
In terms of the shopper, what basically happens is the expectations are much more different than what they were earlier. They are more evolved. They've been traveling the globe. They are aware of what's been happening, the latest trends, what is on the runway. And each of the international brands coming in have actually brought that focus bang on. So there are those seasonal changes. There'll be an autumn-winter collection that comes out. There'll be a spring-summer collection. There is a trend that they can follow. And they therefore have become that much more aware. They have more choice. And the quality obviously has improved of the entire shopping experience, because there's also a very professional and a very qualitative approach to the selling experience. It's become an experience. It's not just shopping anymore. So for
Right.
them, it has evolved. Plus, there are all the more, you have international walkways, shows that are being shown through. So you're seeing all that. And the events that the malls now cater to are completely different. Earlier, you would fill up your atrium possibly with BTL. But now you're focusing, you're doing specific things to draw the footfall in, the quality footfall in. So
I think that's so important. With Quest now that we've opened, actually we are finding there are a lot of stuff that we can't do now. So it's not about just making money, and developers always get the flack that, we'd sell every square feet if possible. But I think that's so much more important, that the quality experience that the person is going to enjoy has been upgraded. On the flip side, why didn't we do that? Why didn't the Indian retailers who were there, why didn't they up the ante when they had the opportunity?
it always works better
obviously.
when there's competition. And when there's competition, you have to up your
The
game.
C word,
That's
competition.
what happened.
Competition.
It wasn't that other brands were not doing it, but yes, the scale has gone up, and now every brand is bringing it to that level, because you have to if you want to survive in the game.
Patabi, this question is coming right back at you. Competition. Since you're a monopoly,
Yeah, so
sort of monopoly.
well, there's really nobody else in the fresh baked cookie space.
Right.
But to answer that earlier question, I do think Indian retailers are changing their game. So, T Nagar was the home
I'm not
of the
saying,
sari shop.
no. I'm not saying changing. I said, why didn't they do it before?
Well,
And she
the
said
God-to-honest
competition, and
truth
I said
is
yes.
That, like I'm saying this again, I think it's 14 years.
Right. I agree.
So-
that it's a learning experience.
Exactly.
The curve. Yes.
All of us are learning this.
Absolutely.
So, just as much as I think what the foreign retailers are learning as well. So there are lots of brands
of course.
in apparel which came in
Yes.
and priced themselves outside
Completely,
what
complete.
they stood for in other countries, learned the lesson, priced themselves below what they stood for in other countries, learned their lesson, paid the price, went through a rebranding exercise. So the truth is,
And there came the Mek Aloo Tikka.
correct, the make aloo tikki,
My God, I can't even pronounce it. After having worked for them now.
the hot sandwiches at
Exactly.
at our friendly neighborhood sandwich shops. So I'm saying that India is actually
Change them.
is a humbler.
Wow.
Whoever comes here with a model and says, you know what, I've come here to sell you this product.
I believe
humbled.
you're so right, because I believe that they've actually introduced that vegetarian sandwich in McDonald's
Correct.
abroad. So it's a two-way street, certainly. I think they find a market, and if it works, it evolves. The foreign developers, the foreign retailers in the development have also had a very harsh learning. I think, Rajesh, you are very aware of how brands, not to take the name, have come and been completely shattered. While the Indian retailer, he has emerged at times stronger. Patabi mentioned, some of the southern stores which are now having anchor tenants.
The big sari shops from
Right. But what do you feel, Rajesh, that we didn't facilitate, or they got the model wrong, the first few entrants who came, or it was just a section of learning and evolving that they got wrong?
5 large malls across 5 geographies of India. It's like having a market East Coast US, West Coast US, North Europe, South Europe.
Interesting.
What happens is, the experience has been in multiple countries with diverse socio-economic markets and customer base. India, they enter as one country. Their plans are based on one country, based on maybe most of the retailers are basing their plans based on the China experience actually. And sooner they enter India, they realize that, this is another elephant. So they genuinely feel that, and I've seen most of the retailers in all the malls, we have most of the international retailers, whether it's Mumbai or Pune or Bangalore or Chennai. And they are also on a serious learning curve. Indian market is genuinely nascent for international retailers. The customer is also evolving. The retailers are also evolving. What he rightly said that, 14 years is genuinely a very, very short time. International retailers are here only 2-3 years old. So time will, what happens is they're coming from a base of 200 stores, 300 stores, 400 stores. And today, because they are restricted to 5 stores, 10 stores.
And I see that the number of shops selling that clothing is less than 30%. Is there any specific reason? I said, sir, that's because the guys who sell that ethnic wear at that point in time, which is 4-5 years ago, were Indian retailers. And nobody was able to convince them to come into the malls. Now, I think that changed. The evolution changed. People recognized it. And India, the humbler, took over. Now, Phoenix, Chennai, one of their anchors is RMKV. He's a sari shop. And he's an anchor at Phoenix. And he's got Biba. He's got a whole Kalaniketan.
No, now it's the zoning. In fact, we zone in our mall ethnic wear.
Correct.
So it's a complete zone on its own because it is predominantly based around our country.
Correct.
So, a majority of them are going to end up buying. In fact, it's one of the most successful areas, in the ethnic wear. So
But that change has happened now. That
I
thought
think we've
process
evolved.
change has happened.
I think what has happened is we've evolved. But the customer itself, Amol, I mean, you've had, for you specifically, Cafe Coffee Day has been a success story, I think, to name it. I don't want to publicize it that way, but it is a success story as a cafe. And how is it that you are going to fight the customer who is going to evolve? What is it that you have to do to evolve him from a Cafe Coffee Day to a Starbucks? Because that's a huge, huge, huge challenge.
So I wouldn't agree that we are trying to get the Cafe Coffee Day customer to maybe come into a Starbucks. I would believe that in any category, there is scope for different players at different price points, giving a different level of service offerings, and maybe creating a different ambience around the entire retail journey. So we found our space, which we classically call the third place, which is basically great ambience, superb service, and a great product line centered around excellently sourced coffee with a large food assortment. So we believe that globally that has worked for us. So with a bit of customization on the food, we are giving that entire Starbucks experience. So I think I am no expert to comment whether the CCD customers are coming to us, but yes, we have created a niche which is only for Starbucks.
So what you're saying is that the USP is your coffee, of how you source it?
Yeah, it's not about sourcing, it's the way the drinks are made, the quality of the drinks, the consistency, the wide assortment of food items and beverages that you get, the ambience in which you get that, because each of our stores is designed in a very different manner. And what we do is we understand the kind of customer in a particular catchment and understand whether it's a tourist, a housewife, a teenager, or a meeting guy coming there. And accordingly, the tall stools, the easy comfort sofas, or the Wi-Fi, or the plug points are all given to ensure that the experience for that particular customer is apt at that location.
Right. So that's a very interesting point, actually. Very, very
You can say it's a bit of customization for each neighborhood.
Now, going about it, looking at something very different, is it right for us? It is not possible for us, rather, to have only international retailers. I think it is not, we've sort of evolved as a learning process. And we realize that the foreign retailers who are coming in have a certain category that they are playing for. You know, and it is not possible for us to just have foreign retailers, but they might not exist in all the zones that we need to create. And as shopping centers are going to get to a size which is going to get it critically right, because you can't make a shopping mall anymore of 200, 250,000 square feet. And I think the 1.2 million, all that is definitely a very tough aspect to fill as a shopping mall. Are we going to go the extra mile to facilitate, to ensure that they break the zoning for the international brand? Are we going to go the extra mile to make sure that even if the rentals were to be compromised, as a developer, you would do it so you get it right for them?
I'm not sure I understand your question right. You're asking me whether the zoning will be compromised for the rental to accommodate an Indian brand or an international brand?
International brand. See, one thing is, of course, that we are not going to try to break the zoning. So you have two parts to the question. One is, will you break the zoning if you wanted that brand and he didn't have access to it because you had a retailer there, let's say on the ground floor, and the only place you can accommodate him was on the first floor, but he was be out of zoning. And second of all, you know, with the rental aspect.
Rental
or the revenue share.
Yeah, rental honestly has not been sacrosanct. And in fact, quite a few times when you want a particular brand to come in, you're willing to compromise on that. So you are willing to give them an easier entry line because it's a brand, but it needs to fit in with your overall strategy. What is your strategy? We have obviously tried to create zones and adhered to those zones, but there are times we've relocated certain brands to create a space, but it still needs to fit in with your overall strategy. So that's important. Where do you envisage your mall? What is the positioning you're aiming for? And does that brand truly contribute to that positioning for you to be able to make that compromise?
I think that as a developer today is a great coming, as you said, the 14 years of learning is that you must thank the developers that we are not going for the extra buck. Rajesh, I think you are facing it every day at Palladium. Share with us your experience on this. You've had Zara now going one floor below, or what is it? It's all under wraps. Please, can you share with us?
Not the right forum. But let me tell you, Zara, the only partner that Zara has chosen is us. We are present at all our malls.
I don't know whether to
So, you know what I would know. What
praise you, or whether you're trying to tell us that we are all bad developers and you're the... Okay.
So what I'm trying to tell you is what the question you asked, that, you know, what does the mall do for a retailer? You know, I'm saying, look at all our malls. I'll give you a simple analogy. Let's look at, you know, people say that Hindustan Lever or Unilever is a good company and they make things right for their product. They have also evolved. You know, when they went into their market cycle of products, they realized at particular positioning, they had a product category missing. So they created a product. This is a science, and I think as mall developers, we have to follow this. If we need a brand, we have to find a space for it.
That's very interesting. Patabi, you've never faced that. Amol, you please answer. I love that answer from you.
We'll try to understand from a developer's point of view, what does the international brand do for it? So the first question could be, is there a category deficit which is not existent in the domestic retail, and so he is seeking that brand? Then there could be there may be a situation where there is no category deficit, but the experience and the product assortment could still be short. So he may still choose to get a particular brand. Then there are two types of malls which seek international brands. One could be the ones that are aging. So maybe spent a couple of years and the brand mix has become dated. There's no novelty from a customer point of view, and then the mall looks at inducting a couple of brands to add to spice it up basically. And if it's a greenfield mall, then basically he may have studied the micro market and seen that the other malls have a kind of brand mix, and how do I stand out from the crowd? So these are a couple of things that we have seen mall owners approach us with in terms of their requirements or their thought on getting international brands.
Right. So, Patabi.
No, well, I have with you too. Yeah.
I knew he was going to bring that up.
And he still gifts Cookie Man, but he's my toughest landlord. But the truth is, I think it's the change that we've seen over 14 years. When we started trying to lease space, and that was the heyday of retail, where people were signing. There was a developer who was talking of putting up a mall in Tenali, and I asked them, "Have you ever been there? It's a village of 2 lakh people," and they said, "No, we've seen it on a consultant's thing, and we think we could do a 100,000 square foot mall." So starting from that heyday of retail, where basically nobody understood what we were. So I wasn't competing against another cookie player. I was essentially competing against anybody else who could pay that money for the space. It could be a perfume shop, it could be a cosmetic store, it could be an ice cream player, it could be barista. So we were competing against anybody who wanted that area. Starting from that era, we're today talking to developers. We're seeing also that the maturity has happened. I'm seeing developers talk about zones. There are clear specified zones. So I'm saying this 14 years has changed the entire paradigms under which mall development functions in India. People are have come to understand that a specific kind of hypermarket brings a certain quality of audience, and that you can't put these kind of brands with them. Now, we paid through our nose to get that learning. So we opened stores where we had hypermarkets that basically brought clients who wanted glucose biscuits, and therefore Cookie Man was something that they would stare at and walk away. We went into malls where we found the audience, the number of people walking in was so little that even though it was a 80% conversion, we were still bleeding because there were just not that many footfall coming in. So we've understood that. And now, again, I come back to the malls that I've just seen, whether it's Quest in Calcutta or the Phoenix in Chennai or the Forum Vadapalani in Chennai, the Forum in Chennai. There's such huge thought process change that's happened. They've thought through who the audience is. So at the Forum Chennai, you don't see very high-end brands because the audience is not that.
So they know their target. The 14 years and all the blood on the floor, I think it's been an expensive learning. And yeah, I mean, today I think out of all the malls, you actually only talk about 25, 30 malls. Especially for you. I mean, I find that there are so many malls which are now have to be redone, or what are we going to do about it? I think that's certainly going to be a challenge. And the deficit of the space that is there for the foreign retailers who are coming in, it's a very challenging aspect how we're going to fit them in. And we're all looking at this, that, FDI is opened, everybody's going to come in, and it's not happening. It's really not happening at the way we thought it would be. And the Chinese brands, I keep saying it, we go to China so often, and if those guys ever decided to enter this market, where are they going to find the space? It's going to be very, very challenging to even get quality space. I mean, Amol's not there in Calcutta yet. I mean, please tell us, of course, Calcutta is never considered part of India. I don't know.
Well, actually, is it? I thought you needed a visa to get there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a challenge that we have not opened there. It's just that we've been in the country since 18 months. And as a retail brand, you should be, and especially again, I talk about the food F&B business where we are, you need supply chain efficiency to service locations. And the cluster strategy works better. Currently, we are focusing on Mumbai, Delhi, Pune, and Bangalore. And Calcutta is probably not a visa thing, but probably it is far. So getting your food, consumables, other stuff there is tricky. But as a retailer gains scale, and he will obviously need to go to all attractive geographies rather than spreading wide. But definitely Calcutta presents a good opportunity. So we will consider it in future.
Thank you. We nearly felt left out of the Starbucks.
But the truth is, Sanjeev, it's not just Starbucks. I think for most retailers, Calcutta was not on their agenda, including us. And it was an eye-opener because our store at your earlier mall and is the world's largest cookie shop in volume terms. And it wasn't the communist capital of the country. I mean, we hadn't had a democratic government there in 30 years.
Yes, of course. Now we have Mamta ji to thank, and she's doing a fantastic job. She's painted our city 3 times over in the time she's been there, which, the commies never did. But going on from there, I think if we can open the floor.
Good evening, myself Vishal from DBCD Bhopal. My question is
could you just speak up, please?
Yeah, my question is to Amol. You are focusing presently on metros or Tier 1 cities, and you are increasing your presence in a single city as of now. But don't you think over a period of time, you are losing the customer interest in Tier 2 cities, in the cities which you should be present?
I think for the coffee business, what we are here to do is create a routine in a person's life where he consumes coffee on a regular basis and multiple times. Now, if currently we are focusing on the metros, and by enhancing our presence all over, basically we like to give the customer a lot of touch points where he can consume our beverage. So I think that's the intent. We could obviously go to the tier 2 cities and all, but as I said, that has drawbacks of supply chain and then the spread and other things. But as the company grows, definitely that will happen.
We got something like 80 odd cities presently, which has got population of more than 1 million.
So actually, I don't.
You cannot say that you got supply chain issues in city where million people are living?
So I think it's not a question of only population, because there is a myth that we have a population 50, 60 cities and we have populations greater than 1 million. I think every retailer needs to think how much is their target group in that and the involvement for that product.
Amol, I think you're right, because there is a direct correlation with propensity to consume and propensity to pay. And I think that's what Amol is also trying to say.
It's a propensity to pay for a particular product. A person being rich does not mean he'll consume all categories across the board. Maybe it will work for some, it may not work for others. So we'll do a studied working and probably go about it in a scientific manner.
How can you correlate that? Look at this way. Are not BMWs, Audis or Mercedes are selling in tier 2 cities?
Absolutely, and probably they are selling more. I know for sure that places like Orissa and Jharkhand, etc. But again, it's got to have repeat business. You are not going to buy a BMW today and buy another BMW tomorrow. You may, but I'm saying you're not going to buy it every day. For him to survive in the cafe business, we must understand repeat business, and that has to become, as he said, a habit. So I'm supporting his cause here. Don't get me wrong.
You have entertainment leisure destinations in tier 1 cities, metros, but still there is a lack of such destinations in tier 2 cities. There are only new developments like malls are there.
Yes.
So
Excuse me,
ideal place will be in tier 2 city.
Excuse me, if you don't mind, I think you should have that conversation with him. But just so that you remember this, BMW did not launch their brand in Tier 3 India. They didn't launch it in Coimbatore. They launched it in the metros. They went to the top 5 cities. They opened in Chennai. They went to Coimbatore, where they were probably selling a lot of cars about 4 years after they opened in Chennai. So and if you looked at the evolution and the growth of any brand in India or any other country in the world, they would have started in one point and grown in a certain route. Now, forget Starbucks. If you looked at McDonald's, they launched in Bombay and Delhi in the mid-90s or the late 90s. They came to Chennai, which is in the top 6 cities of India, in 2010, I think, or 2011.
95 was Vasant Vihar that McDonald's launched. I was there that day.
And they didn't launch in Chennai until 2010.
Yeah.
So it's not for anything else. Different brands, different strategies. You should have that dialogue.
I don't doubt it.
I'm not doubting it. I'm not doubting it. Just a comment on that.
Yeah, sure. But
that strategy was workable 10 years down the line. Okay. But now with the evolution of technology,
really going to be
communication and infrastructure,
I can promise you it's going to be very tough to convince any foreign retailer to start from a tier 2 city. I can guarantee you that.
Amul started from a tier 3 city.
Yes, but somehow Starbucks is not Amul. And Amul, nobody can replicate. The next question, please. Don't get me wrong, we all love Amul.
We are just in shopping center forum, we are focusing on development of shopping center. Amol, it's not a personal question to you, but I personally think that international brands should also support tier 2 and tier 3 city as well. They should put at least certain percentage of their planning or development, they should keep at least tier 2 city in the development segment in the first phase. That was, I would say, that can be a backup for shopping center in a small town, and then it gives a boost to, develop more.
My reading is that now we have got enough people from tier 2 cities to attend the conference. Because I can see that. But that's great. I think it's fantastic. I think you are just telling us the aspirations of what the people are in tier 2 cities. Because you as developers of people who've been doing the work in the tier 2 cities also have understood the pulse. And if that is the aspiration, I can tell you, we're on a fabulous curve.
in a tier 2, we have very fabulous and fantastic built up. We have fantastic designs, but then retailers from the international brands are not willing to come down. And I think because of that, tier 2 city guys are coming to Mumbai. That's an example. Ahmedabad guys come to shopping for Mumbai. And we are really, planning. We have a fantastic infrastructure, but then people should come. At least retailers should come down to Ahmedabad and open something.
Zara has gone to the tier 2 cities. They've gone to the tier 2 cities and they're getting fabulous numbers. So don't worry about it.
Thank you.
Everyone has a strategy.
I appreciate that.
You have to.
No, and it has a lot of international brands. I think you're mistaken. It has a lot of international brands.
They don't have Starbucks.
But,
They don't have Starbucks.
They don't have Starbucks.
They're after Starbucks.
I know you have
Starbucks is a problem.
I know we have
And in the next 10
Mall.
days, in the next 10 days, if they are not in Ahmedabad,
No, actually also.
they're going to be an even serious problem.
They have to come anyway by default after 16th of May when Modi will be.
Well, thanks for the veiled threat to Starbucks. We shall let.
One thing, if you observe, some brands have started going because the tier 2 cities got high quality malls, either one or two, only after 2009. Like Bhopal, Amritsar, Coimbatore, you talk of most of these cities, Ahmedabad, they have one or two grade A malls, but they all came up after 2009. So I think within some period, I think international retailers will go there. But it's quite new compared to the retail evolution in the bigger cities.
No, I think Elante is a very, very good mall that they've developed. And Zara's there, I think. And even in Jaipur. So, I mean, they'll all have to come. 1.3 billion people. We have to feed ourselves. We have to clothe ourselves. And our aspirations, I can guarantee you, is no less than the guy sitting in Dallas or Houston or whatever.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. I'm Karan Arya. Just wanted to add a point. See, maybe business is more in Ahmedabad or a Coimbatore or a Calcutta, but it's all about perception. So if you start a brand from a tier 2, tier 3 location, the metro guy will never come and buy. The tier 2, tier 3 guy will say that, this brand has been launched in my city. How can it be international? It's all about perception over here when it comes to brands. And, we've been, as a retailer, we've been studying this from a long time. And that's the conclusion. I'm sure Vishal can sell more of Calvin that is there in our second store in Bombay. But again, it's all about perception. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's the last question that you had. Rather a statement. We take it from there because you've got CK, FCUK, and now TM Lewin, Karan. So I'm, marketing it for you, but you're still not getting space in our mall. So thank you, everybody. I'd like to thank the panel. They've shared their insights.
Please have a huge round of applause for all the elite panelists.
How